I took 3 gap years before going to university. And in that time, I had bought myself a car. I was selling mortgages on Facebook for a bit. I helped a friend start a business. I even had my own really awesome bachelor pad. So if you want to learn how to cram as much fun as you can into one gap year, you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Dylan David Gordon. You're watching Beyond Young, and this is episode 1 of a 3-part series where I dissect each one of my gap years, extract all of the key learnings, so that way you can cram them into one really awesome gap year. Now, before we talk about my first year off, I just want to say that I've written a book that you might like. It's called 3 Steps for an Awesome Gap Year. You can find it in the description. Pretty much I show you how to move out, get a real job, and start building your foundation so you can live like a functioning adult, but also have an incredible amount of fun and take some serious risks. So if that sounds like something you'd like, click the link so you can get it. Now let's talk gap year. My first gap year was hit and miss. The first 1 to 2 months was really fun. It was amazing. But then that last 4 to 6 was terrible. So terrible, in fact, that it's inspired me to start Beyond Young 6 years later, so other people don't have to go through how crappy that was. So let's talk about what I did well in those first 2 months first. In August, I signed up for WWOOF. It stands for Willing Workers on Organic Farms. Pretty much, in exchange for helping out a farmer, they give you food and somewhere to sleep. It's a really sweet deal, especially when you're a high school student who wouldn't really be able to support yourself on your own. All of a sudden, using this program, the entire world opens up to you. Pick some tropical fruit in Hawaii. You can go to France, work on a vineyard. South America, be a tour guide. You can go anywhere you want. Now, the angle I took was a bit different than most people. I used it to travel locally. I found an urban farm in a local university town, and I moved there for a month. It was only 30, 40 minutes away, so my parents were still nearby, so they weren't super sketched out about me leaving the house because I was right there. But also there were other people my age in this town that I could meet. And that was kind of my game plan for that first month. Now, nuts and bolts, what it was like woofing was, well, all right, we'll talk about the housing situation first. The house was hilarious. It was super small. There were only 3 bedrooms. 2 of the bedrooms had locks on them, so there was a girl staying in each one of those. And then in this larger bedroom, there were 2 bunk beds. Each of those beds, there was just some grown-ass man sleeping on. So when I moved in, little 18-year-old me, there was some Argentinian grad student. There was this older German man named Hans who worked for our local Green Party. And then there was this Japanese guy or Korean guy, I forget his name, who was traveling Canada he wanted to be a yacht coach. He wanted to show rich people how to drive their yachts, and that was his dream and why he came to Canada. So it was this crazy mix of people in the house, and we had 1 small kitchen. Yeah, we all shared a room and 1 bathroom, which was, on the outside, it's not an ideal living situation. I just got out of school. This was the most interesting situation I'd ever been in. What I enjoyed about it was, again, being so young, having to make friends with older people. And then that kind of helped me grow and expand outside of the bubble of conversations that you normally find yourself in, speaking to someone your own age. So living with older people was a huge plus of being with WOOF. Now, as for the work was remarkably simple. I was just cleaning a chicken coop every day and cleaning up their backyard. And if I had some extra time, I'd help with housework inside. On occasion, they'd have, some project in the backyard, they wanted to build a swing or move around a shed. I'd be there to help. But the work was pretty simple. So simple, in fact, that I had time to pick up a part-time job. And if you're woofing, I really recommend you do this because it's just a way of engaging with the community, so as you can kind of get to know the broader city you're in while you're working. But also, getting some cash on the side is huge, so that way you're not totally dependent on what your woof host is feeding you. And you can kind of feel functional and on your own. So 10 out of 10, get a part-time job while you're woofing if you can. Now, the main benefit of woofing and what made the first month, 2 months of my gap year so great was the fact that I was totally alone. No friends, no family, just me out in the world kicking ass. And being out on your own has a whole list of benefits, namely that you can do anything you want and no one can really tell you the wiser, and there's no one breathing over your shoulder to make sure you're doing the right thing. Inside that first month, there was a whole list of firsts that happened insanely quick. It was like I was like this fighter jet, just wow, moving so quickly, hammering out a whole bunch of just these first time experiences, which is amazing. The first of which, having a real job, working with this landscaping company. I've been working with my parents for years and years, but this was my first time having a real boss. Second, I went to my first quasi music festival. I'd never gone before because I don't even know why I'd never gone before, but I went to one of those, which was amazing. I made friends with a couple of these girls on the party bus on the way there, and they offered me Molly, and I didn't even know what Molly was. That's how innocent I was. So I didn't take it, but just to, again, show how much of a kid I was. Third, and this is a big one when you're 18, is yes, I lost my virginity, and yes, it was great. And the girl I shared that with was super awesome. All my friends were out, getting girls and yada yada, but I found someone really special and I was happy to share that with her. So that happened that month as well. And then probably the biggest one and the coolest part of that month was reconnecting with family. We have a lot of drama in my house, and some people we've drifted away from a handful of people for one reason or another. So I was given the opportunity to reconnect with those people, so I took it. And I was much happier having done that. And that sums up the good part of my gap year. Again, just living alone, working, a whole bunch of firsts. It was great. But then my time woofing ended. It would have ended in early October. And, I thought I could just renew my stay there. My time's ending, okay, I'd like to stay a bit longer. That's not how it works. When you're planning to woof, know that other people want to sleep in your bed too. And that other people come after you, which I hadn't considered. So my time had ended and the host had already booked someone else to stay there, which was a huge bummer. So I had to move in with my grandparents, who were a 40-minute drive away from town, but I still had this job. So I went from being totally independent, doing whatever I wanted, to being 100% dependent on my grandparents taking me to and from this town each and every morning, so I could go to work and as well as hang out with a girlfriend of mine at the time. I felt terrible, feeling like I'm using my grandparents all the time, which wasn't fun, but also just feeling super duper trapped. And I mean, it got much worse for the next bit. But you can only work for so long, so the season was starting to wrap up and I decided I wanted to move back home. Now, practically living at home shouldn't be bad. I mean, I'd done it for so many years already. But why did it hurt so much this time? It hurt because I was alone. Not good alone, not adventure alone, but by myself in a house in a rural community while all my friends are having fun alone. It's terrible. My parents and my sister, they'd leave the house during the day and I'd be stuck at home by myself doing online school, going through my Instagram, seeing all my friends having an amazing time and meeting amazing people. And it felt like I was missing out on so much because I was missing out on so much. And the not talking to people regularly was really starting to wear on me, and I developed like this weird social anxiety where I actually got like a minor stutter where I was having, when I would actually see my friends, it felt like I was, like my head was crawling through honey to get words out. Like I knew the words, it's not like I had just gone totally brain dead, but talking to people became insanely difficult because I'd gone months and months and months without regular social interaction. My first gap year was so bad that it inspired me to take a huge amount of action in my second gap year and make things happen that to this day I am in awe that I did these things. So if you want to check out that video and the rest of this series, you can click this button here. It'll take you to the rest. That gap year guide I was talking about, you can find that in the description as well as on this button right here. You can download it. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Dylan David Gordon. This is Beyond Young, and I'll see you next time.